ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शांति शांति शांति. Namaskar my dear friends, this is third and final video on the topic of Brahma Gyan or Atma Gyan, or the knowledge of the self, in the form of dialogue between sage YAJNAVALKYA and his consort and learned wife Maitreyi. I start this video with stanza number 12. As a lump of salt dropped into water, dissolved with its component water, and no one is able to pick it up, but whosoever one takes it, it tastes salt. Even so, my dear, this great, endless, infinite reality is but pure intelligence. The self comes out as a separate entity from these elements, and this separateness is destroyed with them. After attaining this oneness, it has no more consciousness. This is what I say, my dear, so said YAJNAVALKYA. An illustration on the point is being given. A lump of salt, etc. The derivative meaning of the word Sindhu is water, because it flows. That which is a modification or product of water is Sandhava or salt. Khilya is the same as khila, a lump. A lump of salt dropped into water, its cause dissolve with the dissolution of its component water. The solidification of a lump through its connection with particle of earth and heat goes when the lump comes in contact with water, its cause. This is the dissolution of the component water, and along with it the lump of salt is said to be dissolved. No one, not even an expert, is able to pick it up as before. The particle aiva is expletive. The meaning is none can at all pick it up. Why? Whosoever from the whichsoever part one takes the water and tastes, it is salt, but there is no longer any lump. Like this illustration, O Maitreyi, is this great reality called the Supreme Self, from which you have been cut off by ignorance as a separate entity through your connection with the limiting adjuncts of body and organs, and have become mortal, subject to birth and death, hunger and thirst, and other such relative attributes, and identified with name, form, and action, and think you are born of such a family. That separate existence of yours, which has sprung from the delusion engendered by contact with the limiting adjuncts of the body and organs, enters its cause, the great reality, the Supreme Self, which stands for the ocean, is undecaying, immortal, beyond fear, pure, homogeneous like a lump of salt, pure intelligence, infinite, boundless, without a break, and devoid of differences caused by the delusion brought on by ignorance. When that separate existence has entered and been merged in its cause, in other words, when the differences created by ignorance are gone, The universe becomes one without a second. The great reality, great because it is greater than everything else and is the cause of ether, etc. Reality, always a fact, for it never deviates from its nature. The verbal suffix kta here denotes past, present, and future, or the word bhuta may denote truth. The expression then would mean it is great and true. There may be things in the relative world as big as the Himalayas, for instance, created by a dream or illusion, but they are not true. Hence, the text adds the qualifying word true. It is endless. Sometimes this may be in a relative sense, hence, the text qualifies it by the term infinite, pure intelligence. A solid mass of intelligence. The word ghana or solid mass excludes everything belonging to a different species as solid mass of gold or iron. The particle eva only is insensitive. The idea is that there is no foreign element in it. Question: if it is one without a second, really pure and untouched by the miseries of the relative world, whence is this separate existence of the individual self in which it is born or dies, is happy or miserable, possessed of the ideas of I and mine, and so on, and which is troubled by many a relative attributes? Reply: I will explain it. There are the elements transformed into the body, organs, and sense objects consisting of name and form. They are like the foam and bubbles on the limpid water of the Supreme Self. The mergence of these elements down to sense objects in Brahma, which is pure intelligence, through a discriminating knowledge of the truth, has been spoken of, like the emptying of rivers into the ocean. From these elements called truth, that is, with their aid, the self comes out like a lump of salt. As from water, reflections of the sun, moon, and so on arises, or from the proximity of such limiting adjuncts as red cotton pads, a transparent crystal turns, and so forth. So, from the limiting adjuncts of the elements transformed into the body and organs, the self comes out clearly as an individualized entity. These elements transformed into the body, organs, and sense objects from which the self comes out as an individual and which are the cause of its individualization are merged like rivers in the ocean by the realization of Brahma through the instruction of the scriptures and the teacher, and are destroyed. And when they are destroyed like the foam and bubbles of water, thus individualized existence too is destroyed with them, as the reflection of the sun, moon, etc., and the color of the crystal vanish when their causes, the water, the red cotton pad, and so on, are removed, and only the sun, moon, etc., remain as they are. So the endless, infinite, and impede pure intelligence remains. After attaining this oneness, the self, freed from the body and organs, has no more particular consciousness. This is what I say, my dear Maitreyi. No more is there such particular consciousness as I so and so am the son of so and so. This is my land and wealth. I am happy or miserable. For it is due to ignorance, and since ignorance is absolutely destroyed by the realization of Brahma, how can the knower of Brahma, who is established in his nature as pure intelligence, possibly have any such particular consciousness? Even when a man is in the body, particular consciousness is impossible. So, how can it even exist in a man who has been absolutely freed from the body and organs? So said YAJNAVALKYA, propounded by this philosophy of the highest truth to his wife Maitreyi. Stanza number 13. Now Maitreyi puts a question. Maitreyi said, "Just here you have thrown me into confusion, sir, by saying that after attaining oneness, the self has no more consciousness." YAJNAVALKYA said, "Certainly I am not saying anything confusing, my dear. This is quite sufficient for knowledge, O Maitreyi." Thus enlightened, Maitreyi said, by attributing contradictory qualities just here to this identical entity, Brahma, you have thrown me into confusion. Revered sir, so she says, just here, etc., how he attributed contradictory qualities is being explained. Having first stated that the self is but pure intelligence, you now say that after attaining oneness, it has no more consciousness. How can it be only pure intelligence and yet after attaining oneness have no more consciousness? The same fire cannot both be hot and cold. So I am confused on this point. YAJNAVALKYA said, "O Maitreyi, certainly I am not saying anything confusing, that is, not using confusing language." Maitreyi, why did you mention contradictory qualities, pure intelligence and again absence of consciousness? YAJNAVALKYA said, I did not attribute them to the same entity. It is you who, through a mistake, have taken one and the same entity to be possessed of contradictory attributes. I did not say this. What I said was this: when the individual existence of the self, that is superimposed by ignorance and is connected with the body and organs, is destroyed by knowledge, the particular consciousness connected with the body, etc., consisting of a false notion, is destroyed on the destruction of the limiting adjuncts of the body and organs, for they are deprived of their cause, just as the reflection of the moon, etc., and their effects, the lights and so forth, vanish when the water and the like which form their sport are gone. But just as the sun, moon, etc., which are the realities behind the reflections, remain as they are, so the pure intelligence, which is the transcendent Brahma, remains unchanged. That has been referred to as pure intelligence. It is the self of the whole universe and does not really pass out with the destruction of the elements, but the individual existence, which is due to ignorance, is destroyed. Modifications are but names, a mere effort of speech, says another Shruti. But this is real. This self, my dear, is indestructible. Therefore, this great endless infinite reality already explained is quite sufficient for knowledge, Maitreyi. Later it will be said, for the knower's functions of knowing can never be lost because it is immortal. Stanza number 14. Because when there is duality, as it were, then one smells something, one sees something, one hears something, one speaks something, one thinks something, one knows something. But when to the knower of Brahma everything has become the self, then what should one smell, and through what? What should one see, and through what? What should one hear, and through what? What should one speak, and through what? What should one think, and through what? What should one know, and through what? Through what should one know that owing to which all this is known? Through what, O Maitreyi, should one know the knower? Why then it is said that after attaining oneness the self has no more consciousness? Listen, because when that is in the presence of the particular or individual aspect of the self, due to the limiting adjuncts of the body and organs conjured up by ignorance, there is duality, as it were, in Brahma, which really is one without a second. That is, there appears to be something different from the self. Objection: since duality is put forward as an object for comparison, is it not taken to be real? Then just because there is duality, as it were, therefore one, he who smells with the unreal individual aspect of the Supreme Self, comparable to the reflection of the moon, etc., in water, smells something that cannot be smelled through something, etc., with the nose. One and something refers to two typical factors of an action, the agent and object, and smells signifies the action and its result. As for instance, in the word cuts, this one word signifies the repeated strokes dealt and separation of the object cut into two. For an action ends in a result, and the result cannot be perceived apart from the action. Similarly, he who smells a thing that can be smelt does it through the nose. The rest is to be explained as above. One knows something, this is the state of ignorance, but when ignorance has been destroyed by the knowledge of Brahma, there is nothing but the self. When to the knower of Brahma everything, such as name and form, has been merged in the self and has thus become the self, then what object to be smelt one smell, and who should smell, and through what instruments? Similarly, what should one see and hear? Everywhere an action depends on certain factors, hence when these are absent the action cannot take place, and in the absence of an action there can be no result. Therefore, so long as there is ignorance, the operation of actions, their factors and their results can take place. But in the case of knower of Brahma, for to him everything is the self, and there are no factors or results of actions apart from it. Nor can the universe, being an unreality, be the self of anybody. Therefore, it is ignorance that conjures up the idea of the non-self. Strictly speaking, there is nothing but the self. Therefore, when one truly realizes the unity of the self, there cannot be any consciousness of actions, their factors, and their results. Hence, because of contradiction, there is an utter absence of action, and there means for the knower of Brahma. The words what and through what are meant as a fling and suggest the sheer impossibility of the other factors of an action also, for there cannot possibly any factor such as the instrument. The idea is that no one by any means can smell anything in any manner. Even in the state of ignorance, when one sees something, through what instruments should one know that owing to which all this is known? For that instrument of knowledge itself falls under the category of objects. The knower may desire to know not about itself but about objects. As fire does not burn itself, so the self does not know itself, and the known can have no knowledge of a thing that is not its object. Therefore, through what instrument should one know the knower owing to which this universe is known, and who else should know it? And when to the knower of Brahma, who has discriminated the real from the unreal, there remains only the subject absolute and one without a second. Through what instrument, O Maitreyi, should one know that knower? So this dialogue ends here, video also ends here. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment and share the video.